I've financed thousands of businesses over the last 25 years. And after a while, it's not that you become the classic disgruntled old lady, but you do, I think, become much more of a realist and can cut through the garbage and the noise a lot quicker.
Even in the years that I've made the most money that I've ever made in this industry, it was that moment of not having anything that I think prepped me to realize what the hell really matters out of all of this.
I love getting a new deal, obviously, because we're commission based, so that's always fun to get a new deal and be like, ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But then at the same time to actually delve into their story and be like, whoa, like I just got this lady who started a business literally like 3 or 4 years ago, 200 grand on her first tax return, 3 years later, 3 million.
Jeez. All right, today's a little different, guys. There's not any guests other than your typical lords. There's no deal breakdowns. It's honestly just the crew who's behind the mic today. So the episode is called Meet Your Lords. So you've been hearing our voices for quite a while, and I think this is episode 6. So we figured out that it's time you actually get to know who we are. We probably should have done this a little bit earlier, but knowing who we are, where we came from, and what makes us show up in an industry that's got a whole lot of noise, whole lot of nonsense, and way too many options. And so I think it's important that we really separate ourselves from the pack so you can see what makes us special or makes us a little bit crazy on that end. So you'll meet Stephanie Dunn, the partner in all things here, the master, the lord, the leader. She's really the lord of lending and strategy for our team and pretty much anything that me, Brian, and Steph are doing. So you also meet Brian Congelliere, the legal eagle. That's a hard one to say. That's a hard. I don't know if I can get away with it that often, Brian. But he's turned into an SBA sniper, and he's got a lot of experience from the legal world that ties into how he can really organize and structure these transactions. And so you'll get a little bit of me too, and my little crazy, the emotional mess that I've gone throughout my life to help me develop into what I am today, whether good or bad. And so we're going to go through that origin story and the business philosophy, some of the failures, the wins. And if you've ever really wondered what makes us different, this is going to be the episode that it is. So make sure to become a follower, comment on us, let us know why you think we're wacko, what things you want to learn about us, and other topics that we can really get into. So we'll go through a series of questions throughout this that I think will be kind of fun. Some, like I said, the origin stories are some of it, but then there's also on the other side is going to be some of the things that the failures that we've had and other elements that have developed into the people that we are, and hopefully to give us some moral authority to actually talk to you and see if it's something that's helpful. So let's jump right into it. Brian and Steph, how we doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning. Doing great.
Oh, that's really freaking enthusiastic. I'm super excited now.
No, this is the fun show because this is the show we actually get to speak our mind. Like I was just thinking, if there one cool question would be if there was ever something you wish you said on a daily basis, what would it be? Versus the holding back of the PC, constant, being in the boardroom or office where you have to hold back. Then yesterday I was on a Zoom call and I was thinking to myself, you know what? I was gonna tell him to suck an egg. And then I'm like, probably not a good idea to tell the big guy to suck an egg.
That's a bit brutal. Well, actually, so let's get into that, Steph. And we're going to go right out the gate, where you came from and what got you to the point where you want to tell everybody on the other side of the screen to suck an egg. So
Yep.
Day one, Steph, where are you from? Why are you somebody in the SBA world right now?
Well, you know what is really interesting? Someone asked me my age this week and I had to think about it. Don't you hate that when you're like, wait, how old am I again? you, that sucks. When you get older and you actually have to like do the math. Wait, what year was I born? So yeah, I'm going to be 50. 50.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I started to realize, you know what? I could say suck an egg because as you get older, you get to just say whatever you want. Like Betty White. I'm going to Betty White the next 50 years of my life. That's what I'm going to do. So I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of crap. I've heard all the stories. I've financed thousands of businesses over the last 25 years. And after a while, it's not that you become, the classic disgruntled old lady, but you do, I think, become much more of a realist and can cut through the garbage and the noise a lot quicker because you've seen it all. And it's really hard, man, not to say, you know what, just stop the talking. It's not going anywhere. We're not gonna do your
Right.
deal. This
I've
is not
been
happening."
I've been down this road before. This is not a surprise. Yeah, that makes sense. So you, Steph, are Canadian originally and are a
I don't think you lose that. I think you just always are
early
that.
Canadian. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can't
It's
say you
common
used to be.
the ugliness in the news right now about how much Canada hates us, and they're going to send moose with lasers attached to their heads to attack us.
Oh,
Like
yeah, I
that's
was at the gym yesterday, my trainer was asking me about Canada. I'm like, "Dude, I've been gone for 25 years. What the hell do I know? Just because I have an accent doesn't mean I know all things Canada."
that's a guaranteed, guaranteed. If you watch the news, you would assume as much. So you started there. What took you to inevitably Wilmington, where you're at now, doing SBA loans? Walk us through the path.
All right, first job, that was something we talked about. First job was I started work early. I was a waitress. Everyone should work in a restaurant in their lives. Every single person on planet, because that's where you learn customer service and how nasty people can be, and just how to just eat crow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
crow. It's very humbling. You learn to just serve people. And I did it for years and years and years. Was a waitress, and then I worked the front desk at a hotel. So
a
that all, yeah,
little
right.
hospitality in there.
I worked for Choice Hotels
Oh,
at
there it is.
at
Nice.
the
Healthy
front
choice.
desk, people in, arguing about their bills and how their pillow was too hard and all that fun stuff. So I did that for all through college. And I think that's what, like, got me really interested in the hotel business, customer service, the experience that people, like and don't like in all industries, service-related industries. So I think that probably shaped a lot of who I am, was the years I spent in my developmental years, let's call it, in college and high school, in the service industry.
Interesting. Okay. And so out of that, where did you end up? So you left that, you went to college, got out. I know you landed in Chicago at some point, and
Yeah,
that was kind of the beginning of all of this, right?
yeah, landed in Chicago, so graduated from McGill, which is the Harvard of Canada. I'm gonna throw that in there. Woo-hoo. Uh, so graduated from McGill, moved to America to chase the American dream. Told my family I'm moving to America. And my grandmother was like, "You're nuts. It's so dangerous down there. People get shot every day in America." I'm like, "I know, grandma. It's gonna be fine." She's like, "We're never coming to visit you. Thanks so much. I'll see you at Christmas." So, and that's what happened. So I moved to Chicago, I loaded my Chevy Crapalier up with all my belongings and drove to Chicago thinking I'm moving south, suckers. See you. And it was December. I pulled up in my Chevy Cavalier in a snowstorm. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought 15 hours south would be warmer. Why is it so cold here?
That's classic. I
Yeah.
love it. And so out of that, you went into you were working in like a one of those chop shops in the trading world, right? What was the
True. Good old
Brew,
true.
alright.
Yeah, so I was a boiler room with the headpiece, selling stock every day to old ladies in their retirement accounts. We had daily quotas. There was no do not call list. It was 7 days a week. We'd go and just cold call. And
Oof.
everybody, and the next person beside you was like a foot from you. And I'm a loud talker. So can you
Yeah.
imagine how miserable these other people were hearing me on the phone? I'm like cackling and talking loud. I
Oh
did
god.
that for 2 years, 7 days a week. Cold call, cold call, cold call.
Oh
But that
my
also
gosh.
helped me in this business, because
Yeah.
now it's like I heard no all day, every day.
Yeah, and that's you get a lot of those when you're in the SBA world and in the small business world, especially now with the amount of competition and stuff that's in
Mhm.
that's in the market. So,
All right,
okay,
what about you guys? You wanna turn it around? Talk to us
Ryan,
about your
your
first.
your path to the love and exciting world of SBA, and sometimes one we can call it a hell occasionally, but
No,
let's
man.
hear it.
I just wanted to be here for so long. So crafted my entire path, my journey just to get here. Um, no, man, I mean, we've known each other for a long time. So went to college, and basically I got started just doing random jobs, doing mostly coaching stuff, and then got out of school, graduated in '08, which was a great year to graduate in finance
Oh, yeah.
and looking to get into real estate. So basically, immediately decided I was going to go back to school, get my law degree. And between that time, I did some door to door sales, which was at first it's brutal, but then you kind of get into a groove and you're like, all right, I think I got this. And you just start knocking them out and you get used to hearing the no's. I didn't do it for 2 years, thankfully, but I did it long enough to where I was able to get into a groove and learn how to sell. And then in law school was doing some trial advocacy, that type of stuff, and found that the door-to-door sales, speaking with people aspect really lent itself to doing that sort of thing. Got out of law school, went and worked in, quite frankly, when I look back at it, I'm like, why the heck did I go into doing transactional law, which is contracts, like drafting contracts,
Mhm.
as opposed to going into um, you know, uh, litigation, which
Mhm.
probably would have played to my strong suits a little bit better, being in court or, drafting complaints and having to come up and speak with people, depositions, that sort of thing. But in any event, that's the route I went because I wanted to get into real estate so bad. And so I went and worked for a law firm in LA. One of the, well, it's probably the best real estate law firm in California. And there's other big firms too, but I was fortunate to go work at an office where the kind of the top dog of the firm worked, and he had all the huge REIT and institutional clients as his clients. So it was a great experience to kind of get into that sweatshop environment to learn and do thousands of documents a year. And what I learned from that was that that is not where I want to end up. I
Nope.
remember being in the office at like 7, 8 o'clock at night, looking down the hallway, and the partners were still there. A lot of the partners would still be there. And I'm like, wow, that's going to be me in 20 to 30 years. I'm going to be sitting right there,
Yep.
staring out at, the 405 freeway. So I'm like, I don't know if that's what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. Granted, it's a really secure job. You do really well. Those guys all did really well. But for me, it just wasn't a good fit. And, a lot of my friends stayed there and are doing awesome now. But for me, I just needed to do something that was a little bit more almost solopreneur, so to speak,
I feel like that
and
was great word.
do things on my own and kind of be more involved. It For me, being in the institutional game, it was everything felt so big, and you get so siloed down into like this finite part of the process that it just felt like I'm playing with paper monopoly money and not really doing anything that was, to me, that felt that meaningful. And so now switching gears, um, I was at a point where I needed to switch gears and reached out to Shane and Steph, and you guys brought me in, and so it's been fun to see small businesses because that's kind of something that's always been exciting to me, watching people start a business, get it going, and then they come see us and they're like 3, 4 years down the road and they need to expand, right? And that's a fun thing to look at someone's financials and see, whoa, you started like 3 years ago making 200 grand and now you're making 3 million.
Yeah.
That's insane. How the heck did you do that?
Yeah.
And so getting stories like that, like, that's the part, being on the front end, the sales side, that I really like. I love getting a new deal, obviously, because, we're commission based, so that's always fun to get a new deal and be like, "Ooh, that's cool."
Yeah.
But then at the same time to actually delve into their story and be like, "Whoa." Like, I just got this
Mm.
lady who started a business literally like 3 or 4 years ago. That exact scenario that I just described. 200 grand on her first tax return, 3 years later, 3 million.
Jeez.
I mean, it's
The
so
feeling.
fascinating to talk to this lady and just pick her brain and be like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah, those opportunities are interesting and what it delves into. It's great hearing that story. So what little bit backstory between but Brian and I have known each other since high school. So
Well,
he was
since middle
actually
school, probably.
middle school actually, yeah. And but I didn't like him until about like junior or sophomore year. So
Last year.
when he invited me to come,
Well, yeah, probably like last year.
depends on the day, right? So he was my high school setter. We used to go play volleyball for 4 hours a day. We'd go to practice and we'd go over to our church building and it's literally just hit volleyball over and over and over and over and over and over again. He went to school and played volleyball, and that was he went actually played for BYU. He was the setter for BYU. I went off to a D3 school back east just because I wasn't tall enough, was a little bit chubby, and couldn't quite get off the ground as high as I needed to hit the way that BYU needed. But
Still
in the
one of the hardest hitters I ever saw.
still one of the hardest. Yeah, there you go. I'll take it. I'll take that.
Okay,
I got a
I
freaking
like
cannon. I hit really damn hard. The shaky one, as Brian remembers this. The shaky one. That was one of the best plays that we had of all time. But the that so that background, that's where our relationship started. Stephanie and I actually met her at my very first bank, and that's the kind of my origin story, if you will. I stepped into this world at Excel National Bank, got hired right out of college, coming from I went to school at Stevens Institute of Technology, which is like a not quite as smart as the kids that are in MIT, if you will. We'll call them at least the grades weren't as high at that point.
the beat.
Granted, every one of the dang kids at that school were freaking geniuses except for me, it felt like. So I didn't I went to this business program that helped me learn the how to talk tech, because there's in the business world still a huge gap between the finance guys or the guys in management and the technology guys who are running the show. That gap is getting closer and closer because I think there's some of the people in that era that are edging out, but that you kind of have to know tech in order to survive right now. So that was kind of my training, and I jumped into it, and that's when I ran into Steph. She was a BDO, just killing it at Excel National Bank, had this epic background in SBA. I come out of college and get a phone book dropped on my table and had to go on yellowpages.com and told, "Hey, go find some businesses." And I had no freaking clue what I was doing. I had some exposure working in the servicing department of B of A. And that was a freaking nightmare because I could do everything that they needed me to in 30 minutes and then would have nothing to do for the rest of the damn day. I'm like, this is terrible. This is my freaking nightmare. So the sales side of it was something that I think was better fit for the personality. And so I stepped into it, learned the hard way that calling for loans in the SBA world doesn't get you very far if you're just calling the front desk people. Like you're not drumming up businesses. SBA is a weird little niche that only is a very small part of the actual commercial lending market. And if that's the only product you've got to sell, you got to find a different avenue. So I followed suit of the pros like Steph and Scott Muir and Jim Mueller and some of these other big names in the world that have guys who have found niches, gas stations, hospitality, business acquisitions, and kind of just said, let me copy what they do. And so I kind of followed that. I went down the hospitality route, started doing well. 2008 hit, that was a mess, um, caused friction at the banks and cease and desist orders and all sorts of things that just made me start hopping banks. And every institution I went to, I kind of learned a little bit more, had a really hard fall, trying to think. I start making good money, and all of a sudden something changes at the bank, and then all of a sudden I have no money, and I'm back in it again, making more money at the next place, and there's this just ebb and flow of moving banks. That's one of the risks of kind of changing employers, especially if you're in the sales world. You kind of have to find your groove again. So I've learned my lessons throughout that. And then Steph and I had linked back up and was at this great experience. We're at an AHOA conference, Asian American Hotel Owners of America, right? Is that what it
Yeah.
is? Is that right? Okay. But we're at this. I think it was your bank was either putting on or it was like the Choice Hotels like dinner, and it's hilarious because I saw a ton of people circling somebody, and I could hear the cackling voice of
I
Stephanie, but I couldn't see her because she's shorter than everybody, but she dominated the damn room, and I was like, "Who the heck is at the center of this?" And so I'm a giant amongst the other people that were there, so I start weaving my way in and see her in the middle of it, and she says, "Shane," and like that's when we like get together again, and she eventually convinces me to come work with her. It didn't take very long, but convinced me to come work with her over at First Bank, and that kind of reignited our partnership and friendship, and that's what's linked into where we're at today. We call ourselves the Pod. We've got Stephanie, Shane, and Brian as the three legs of the tripod, if you will, that are running the show and generating loans together, and that make up what is Lords of Lending. But it's been an interesting path of dancing banks and learning what didn't work, and it's interesting to kind of see it all come back together and into this fun group that we have today, that we get to get on the phone with each other literally every morning and just complain. Just a giant complain session every day because you need that in this industry. There's plenty of people that just piss us off, and often we make our own mistakes, and that I think that creates a raw environment that you just need to vent. And so I think Yesterday was one of those when I slammed my finger in the door trying to freak out how to get back to a call. Brian, you were a witness to it. Uh, It
I
gets
was there.
real gets
Got
really
real exciting real fast.
real exciting really fast, and words that I needed to repent for later. So, that we got there. So, let
Well, Shane, let me ask you a question.
alright, hit me.
Why start this podcast at this point?
Well, that's I had no interest in being a podcaster last year. Like, it wasn't anything on my radar. I'm at that age where I saw social media and I get annoyed by the way that people have really dove into it and the noise, but it's funny because 'cause I'm one of those constant scrollers. I'm always using Instagram, and they're selling the hell out of everything to me. But the idea came from, some chat dialogue I had with Ray Drew, and, the idea of lords of lending actually kind of populated from conversation Brian and I have. This idea of like, oh, the deal lord, or who's the lord of this environment, and it's kind of this nerdy play off of like Game of Thrones and whatever else. But I started a cycle of that, and Ray's like, you need to start a podcast. I'm like, all right, well, let's give this a shot. And Shane, the Rhino, started charging at it and went all in, and Steph was right there, like, hell yeah, we're doing this. And we tried to get it lifted off last year, but too many other things were happening as far as career wise. It didn't quite fit. But the whole concept is to be a little bit different, be a little bit more fun. And I think in the last 3 months that we've been doing this with all 3 of us, I think it's a hell of a lot more fun because we can kinda be ourselves and talk about the things that piss us off and discuss awesome, fun, and exciting things that move forward. So I think that it's a narrative that other areas in the market aren't really talking about. It still lives in its own little niche, but I think the number of loans and things that we see and businesses and industries is a unique opportunity that not many people get to see. Like I don't there's nobody else I've ever met that has seen like nearly 50 to 60 different industries of businesses and how they operate and get to look behind the scenes that it really has what's made them successful and ways that they failed. And it's an interesting position to be in, to be able to observe simply from the learning aspect and be able to see how we can tie things together from those different industries. So
Yeah.
it's a unique pool that I think what we can come to the table with will actually be beneficial to any listener in almost any industry. If you're a small business and entrepreneur, this is a great environment with people that have really seen thousands and thousands of businesses and deals and stress points that people have been in and ways that they've overcome it. And so we can kind of share that knowledge and help people get there. So my question is everybody else said, Steph, like why do you care about getting on this podcast and this being something you want to talk about?
I really don't.
Oh, there it is.
I
Doesn't even care. You
don't know.
son
I don't know why I got talked into this. Really, I ask myself that question every day of my life. Like, how did I get here? Is the question I ask myself.
you really want to do it.
Yeah, you know, yeah, listening to you guys, the interesting thing is we all have something in common, and I think that is a trait of us of a to me what defines a potentially good employee is if you've played sports on a sports team in your life.
That's
If you
valid.
played on a sports team, I think that's my new interview question now. Have you ever played sports? Like, have you ever been on a team? Anyone who's not played sports and not played on a team, it's an interesting life experience. You know, you learn how to have like banter with teammates. You learn
Mhm.
camaraderie, but you also learn to up your game because your team's relying on you.
Yeah.
And so what we do every day and how we all like on a proactive basis reach out to each other every day and FaceTime every day, it's cuz it's that same type of mentality. Like we want to up our game. So when you're talking to other people that are playing well, it makes you want to play better, right?
Yeah.
And the opposite is true too. Like, I don't think I would have the same banter or camaraderie or wanna do a podcast like this if I didn't feel like it was a group of people that made me better.
Yeah. Well, and I think also getting criticized by coaches. Like,
Yeah,
so let alone your teammates and everybody, like, egging you on, so when you're down in a hole and you need to figure out how to move on to the next and perform better or being
yeah,
constantly wanting to be better, um, learning how to get yelled at. I mean,
yeah.
fun story for me, and it's one I've shared in the past, is kind of that I think humbled me more than anything else because I get arrogant or I get so blinded with what I'm going after sometimes that I don't take a step back and say, "Shane, do you just need to shut up for a second?" Like,
But
just
I
show
didn't
'em.
I
You guys,
didn't
you tell me that. You tell me
oh,
right
yeah.
after. Shane, just
As
shut up.
on an as needed basis.
Give it 24 hours and just hold on a second, all right, buddy? Yeah, that's the nature of the beast. But early on in my career, I had a credit guy, president of the bank, really, that was a large freaking bank. I don't know what the hell I was thinking as a young, exuberant youth. But the one of the messages that came across is I got a phone call for him on a deal, and I was dead set that I was right, that this was the deal that needed to work because the SOP said it's possible and it's eligible, blah 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 blah. And so he starts going off, and I'm just getting pissed because he's bringing up all these things that he didn't like about the transaction. I don't even remember what the hell the deal was, but in the end, it got to a point where I was just going, and he said, "Shane, shut up, and I'll teach you credit." Like, vividly, I still to this day remember it. I wasn't like a huge fan of the dude. I don't think he was of me either, but he said that, and instead of me kind of like doing what I would normally do, which is get even more pissed off, I did shut up.
Did your lips start to tremble?
Oh, it was trembling before that, but that derailed me from the trembling for a
Were
minute.
you
I'm
gonna
like, "Oh,
cry? Did did tears well up in your eyes?
no, that's not where I go." I get furious and I start throwing stuff. I mean, like, I punch holes in wall like that. That's where I would normally go at that point. It's not quite as bad now. It happens occasionally. Yesterday was one, but in the end, it was a moment where I just said, "Okay, crap. Let me just shut up for a minute. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about." And I think that moment was perfect. And that sinks back to what you said, Steph. It's like there's this coach mentality, and I'm like, "Okay, this guy's actually in charge. I need to shut up and just listen to the coach. Don't fight against the coach." Right? Let him teach you something. And it reminds me of the volleyball days, Brian, with just like getting yelled at by Alvin, our volleyball coach. And the guy would just and he wouldn't relent on it at all. You try to fight back, and he'd start hitting balls at you harder, and just say, "Move, move, move, move," and until you get out of your own damn head and
Mhm.
kind of get back in the game. Yeah, and I don't think without that kind of leadership, and that's something that I think that I kind of want to instill without being overburdening to people, but as a leader myself, is to try to help people to engage at a different level than they are now, just to get more out of what you do. I mean, why come and do this job every day, spend the amount of hours that we do, whether it's originating loans, underwriting loans, closing loans, running a business, and half-ass it, and just not put
Yeah,
the effort in? It's such a waste of your freaking time. So
yeah.
finding ways to capitalize that, right?
That's my biggest pet peeve. My biggest pet peeve is someone who doesn't give it their all.
Yeah,
I don't understand it. I just wanna shake them. Like,
yeah,
how could you not every day of your life wanna wake up and go do your best? You just
yeah.
wanna be mediocre? Mediocre to me, I'd rather just crawl under a rock and sleep.
I know. Get the hell off the team if you don't wanna play. Like, that's the where I
The
think. Go
best,
somewhere you actually give a damn about what you're doing. Like, that's
right?
yeah,
And so this podcast, I guess, is our way of sharing our inspiration and our energy with the world because I'm interested in finding other like-minded people. That's
yeah,
what I'm really interested in. And I think this podcast gives us a voice to share our motivation with others because it's infectious. And I think other people that are just as motivated as us, we all gravitate towards each other and
yeah.
we raise the bar.
Mhm.
Every day we're better because we have other people around us showing us their version of good. You know, too, when you get stuck in a rut and your definition of I'm giving it my best, it gets stuck in your head and you get in your own mind. But then when you see someone else doing better, you're like, wait a minute, am I really giving it my best?
Yeah, where
Maybe
the
I
hell
need to up the game here.
Yeah.
oh,
And
I
that's the beauty of being around people that constantly push you and being around situations that are inspiring. For a long time, I was super into software as a service companies and like thought that, oh, I think I want to jump ship when I was an attorney or when I was starting out doing this. Like, oh, I think I want to jump ship and go start a SaaS business. And um, I didn't know what it would be, but it was something that sounded super cool, right? Because it was really hot and people were getting extremely amazing multiples selling their companies and I had some friends that were doing it. And so it was cool to look at, but what this job has taught me over time and especially over I'd say since COVID is there's a t- there's a million ways to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
Um and it's interesting for me to see these businesses come in and it's inspiring to see what these people have done with businesses and to see how they've grown them. Now, not everyone I think comes into it with the same level of structure and planning ahead. And I think that's somewhat the beauty of SBA, even though it is a very painful and long process. It really does a good job of helping these customers get their businesses organized, get all their paperwork together, get their insurances together, get their legal entity documents together, make sure everything's kind of in a good spot. Because when they go to those other lenders, the fast money lenders, high interest rate stuff, they don't care what kind of shape the business is in. They're looking at they're looking at bank statements. They're looking at, can this person make the payments based on these bank statements and maybe some other metrics and credit, whatever, and they're sending the money their way. And so these people almost get hamstrung a little bit by the fact that they do so well, right? They're doing so well. They know how to make money so well, but they're hamstringing themselves by not actually laying the foundation for their business and
Yeah.
laying, um, setting it up for future success and scaling. And I
Mhm.
think that that's the thing that for me, I saw and did a ton of research, learned a lot about SaaS businesses and getting yourself to a point where, hey, I've got product market fit, my business is doing well, and now I'm going to set it up to scale,
Yeah.
right? And the few companies that come in that we see that are scaling, you can tell they've got their team in place, they've got their management in place, they've got their strategies in place. They know the direction they're going. I mean, I just closed a loan recently where we refinanced a bunch of debt for a business. They were probably doing, you know, what were they doing? 8 figures revenue. And it's because they had set themselves up and put in place all these great systems to grow the business. And so that same sort of those tactics that they use in SaaS for growing and scaling a business can be used in what we would consider more brick and mortar, the boring businesses. But it's those boring businesses that we see that come in that are like, so many times I'm just gobsmacked looking at their financials because they do so well. And it's just like, oh, I'm just selling um these honeycomb manufactured pieces for a certain type of engine, and they literally kill it
Yeah.
just with that. So
Mhm.
those are the things that I think are inspiring, is seeing how we can basically help these businesses. And coming from the attorney background, I value very highly setting things up the right way, making sure things are done in a way that you set yourself up for success in the future.
Well, what you just heard was what Brian likes to geek out on a daily basis when it comes to how to solve all problems for all businesses and the technology that's involved. We talked about it again this morning, and the idea of building agentic systems to automate and make everyone's lives easier. So therein lies Brian. So if you ever wondered what the hell he's thinking about on a daily day basis when you see him staring off into the wall, it's usually that, and it's funny because that's one of the questions we were going to ask each other is what do you geek out on? But it was supposed to be nothing to do with business or finance, and sadly, I don't think well, I probably got a couple, but I don't know if Brian does. Right? He literally the things that he geeks out
Hobbies?
What do
hobby
you
wise,
geek out
Things that
on?
I geek out on?
AI crap, right? And it's like it's actually business and finance related. You love the
I
software.
mean,
You love
I'm literally sitting here vibe coding while talking.
yeah.
So, I mean,
How
it's
much you
like I
enjoy
cannot get enough of it. I cannot get enough of it.
the
It's
extent.
like it's like all these things that I loved in theory about SaaS companies, all of a sudden now with AI, so many of those things are accessible
Here we go.
without having to have a team of engineers. Granted, you want to take a business with a massive TAM, right? And you want to take it like, I'm going to sell this thing, I'm going to make a unicorn, sell this thing for billions of dollars. Like, great. You can do that. You got to have the technology skills to do that. Great. But for the rest of us, all of this stuff is totally accessible and things that I think
Fascinating,
need to be
Brian.
implemented by everyone.
Fascinating. That
God.
was that. Let's stop there for a
There
commercial
we
break.
go. All right, let's
So,
thank you.
case in point, when Brian starts to geek out about this stuff, this
Is
is where you start laughing, and
yep.
my ADD kicks in, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm hungry. Am I hungry or am I thirsty?
Guys, this is why you
And then,
need this is
and
why
I
you
just
need a
head
conversation.
nod,
This is why
and then when he comes to take a breath, I'm like, okay, so
wait a second.
Back to what we were talking about. Yeah.
yeah, back to it. What do you geek out about, Shane?
Oh my gosh. Outside of this, bro, and you know all this stuff. So
Well, yours is like a rolling. It changes,
constantly changes, man.
constantly changing.
And it has to do with who I tend to be around. I don't know if it's an identity crisis
Yes.
I've got for myself.
You had this one borrower once who was a woodworker, and all of a sudden you were woodworking.
I was a
I'm
woodworker.
like, what?
Built my own damn tables. I learned how to weld. Honestly, that's the weird stuff that comes out. Is like I tend to gravitate towards the hobbies of the people that are around me, to the things that I get really into. Right now, I've got a son that has the same problem I do, except for he leans in even harder on passions. And so the dude got into to drones, like flying FP, like first person view drones, which is freaking incredible. And I think I got really impressed with it because it wasn't just like let's go fly an RC car, like a little like remote control car on the ground. Like these things are flying like 80, 90 miles an hour and doing tricks and moves. I don't know if anybody wants to look that up. Go look up FPV drone flying and it'll blow your damn mind some of the ability to do that. So I started geeking
Negative.
out on that because my son started geeking out on that. But it shows that it's always has to do with who's into what that's around me at any given point in time. And so I've gone through that. I've done woodworking. I've done off-roading. I learned I bought a car and nerded it out. And I had this buddy that was an auto mechanic and he told me all the things to get. So I went and got all the things. I think being a sales guy and having access to some capital allowed me to go really explore it deep and do it a little too quick. And so I would get in and out of these things really fast and probably lose my tail on every one of that. I never made any money in any of this. You'd think that someday I might actually get to a point where I could convert that into a profit making environment. But no, it's just a hole to pour money into that keeps me somewhat engaged and like the whole idea was my uncle actually said this when I started out in the industry. And my uncle, who's got me into this, a little bit of nepotism, but he's like, you got to have something that like motivates you outside to want to work harder inside, if that makes any sense. So like having something that you're looking forward to, whether it's a vacation every quarter or if it's a hobby like that next motorcycle. This guy he would go down to ride dirt bikes in Baja. So he always wanted like be able to buy the next bike or like upgrade his bike to be able to make it even more epic. And he would do that, 3 to 4 times a year. And he used this job to help motivate him to go do that, or like a car or something that kind of pushed him to keep him on it, of why he would do this crazy job every day that makes you go gray, bald, / stressed and have high blood pressure. So I think that was mine. That's kind of what pulled me in that kind of where I sit today. But Steph is the one that has also many talents, but she tends to master all of those damn talents. Talk us through a couple of the ones that you've done outside of this, Steph. I know you've got a myriad.
I
Classical
geek
things.
out a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on a whole different stratosphere, man. My brain, like if I could show everybody my brain, it's really scary.
Yeah.
I have a very I'm a quintessential multitasker, man. I am always doing 6 things at the exact same time. Kind of like Brian coding right now.
Yeah.
And I geek out on, like if I had to sum it up in one word is I geek out on self-help. And
Self-help.
I'm not talking psychoanalysis. I hate that. When someone's always trying to like give me my psychoanalysis of my personality type, I'm like, no, no, no. I don't want that. I geek out on self-help. I geek out. I think I've read every leadership book like 3 times. The principles of leadership and people. I geek out on what makes people tick. And because of that, my hobbies have formed. So like I geek out on movies and Hollywood because I love the movies in Hollywood that shape the world and that influence. I love that. So I geek out on anything that is related to human behavior. And that's probably why I'm the friend that will send you the quote of the day. Like I'm that person every day I send out to all my friends. I laugh for about 20 minutes to myself because I think it's funny as hell. And I send everybody the joke and I like the incorporation of humor in self-help too. Cause if you can't laugh at yourself, I mean, boy, life gets depressing.
Really
So
doesn't.
I like that aspect of life. So yeah, all my hobbies are around that. The self-help people, uh, every day being better, leaving an impact on the world, legacy. I geek out on legacy. I'm always
Like,
of the mind like, okay, when we're 80, what legacy are we going to leave behind? And what are people going to say about our impact to the world? And
yeah,
that's what my biggest fear, I think, is to be 80 and regret not having done all the things I wanted to do. That's my biggest fear is, oh man, I wish I would have started a business. I wish I would have tried that one thing, you know? I
yeah,
think we take advantage of time so often. We think we'll have more time, more time, more time. And here you are, you're 50. You're like, okay, it's
crap.
time to get this party started.
Yeah, this is like an eternal midlife crisis moment for all of us. I mean, all 3 of us are in our 40s right now trying to figure this out. You're coming over the edge there, Steph, but
Yeah.
in the end, it's still it's that phase of, "Oh, shoot, what am I missing out on? What have I already missed out on, and how can I take advantage of it now?"
And even what we do. I mean, look, I was reading through these questions here. And like, when did you think if you think back on a time when your career took a left turn and what changes did you have to make? I mean,
So many damn left turns. Holy crap, I feel like I've been going in circles.
I've been turning left my whole life.
Do is turn left, and I'm just keep turning left, and I can't stop turning left, and it's driving me insane. Why the hell am I still turning left? Turn right, damn it. Like,
Yeah.
that's
And then we would show up at work every day and we laugh at the things that we can't believe are happening, but we continue to ride the merry-go-round.
you're right, that's it. It's a merry-go-round, always going left. Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That is
All
a
right, so
perfect.
that's my question for you guys. Um, when what was the weirdest or the most difficult left turn in your life/career?
Left turn.
I know what mine is. And it's probably the thing that got me into doing this SBA. I was doing legal work and I went to a firm. My first law firm was a big firm. And so I was like, well, I was getting to a point where I was like, I don't know if I love doing what I'm doing. And I'm not sure if it's just the big firm lifestyle or if it's being an attorney doing transactional work. And so I got to a point where I was like, well, I'm going to try a smaller firm doing the same sort of thing and see if it's just the firm size, the grind, etc. So I went and interviewed at this firm down in Orange County and ended up not getting that job. And so I took a different one basically down the street in LA and then really enjoyed that one. But the firm in Orange County called me back like a year later and said, hey, we're looking again. We wanted to know if you were interested at all. And so at the time, I was like, yeah, my wife's from Orange County. I thought it'd be a great fit. Went down there, ended up, long story short, got the job, started working there, and very quickly found out that I just did not jive very well with the attorneys in that office. There was one that I got along with really well. Um, but I don't know, man. Compared to the attorneys that I worked with in LA, these folks were just a different breed. And so I started butting heads with what's that?
Is it Orange County?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I just started butting heads with one of the attorneys there and simultaneously was really falling out of love with what I was doing and like getting super depressed and feeling terrible about every day going to having to go in and do this job. And so that combined with butting heads with this attorney, basically I got to the point where I was like, well, this attorney wanted me to do something. I said no because I had previously asked for the day off, and this attorney was like, "Well, it's a closing, blah blah blah. I'm not in. I need you to do it." And I'm like, "Well, you should be in. You're the partner.
Good for
I'm
you.
not.
Didn't
I
that
already
feel
told you I
good?
wasn't going to be there."
Yeah.
So did that and didn't look back. And then a week later, they said they were going to let me go, and so that's when I called this guy. And literally next day, I'm interviewing with you, Steph, and getting hired doing this because I was like, I need to take a break. At the time, I was thinking I just need to take a break from law and from doing what I was doing. And now almost 9 years in, and
And this is the left turn?
This is the
Is
this
left.
is no, the left turn was
oh,
leaving law. I mean, I thought that I had gone into law school knowing that I would not probably be in law forever, but didn't think that that was gonna be the way that I would go out. And so now doing this, yeah, there's ups and downs, but man, it is a heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
it's so interesting because I always fantasized about being the Lincoln lawyer. Like, that's where I
Well,
wanted to do.
I wasn't the Lincoln lawyer. Like doing there's a difference. Even in law school, I had experienced doing litigation and doing some pro bono stuff. Like when I worked at the my first firm, we did pro bono hours every year that we had to do. And so doing that sort of stuff, like that's amazing. The only
Yeah.
problem is you make peanuts
Yeah.
Mm.
doing it. And
Yeah.
so for me, I was like, well, I got to support the fam, so I got to go take a job that's going to pay me to support my family. But yeah, doing the Lincoln lawyer stuff, like that stuff is interesting,
Yeah.
and that stuff, you know, it's amazing. I love
Mhm.
doing it.
Yeah.
I like that. It's the hitting the point of failure and how quick do you recover, right? Like that's essentially what I hear from Brian's story. Like it's things you went completely south. That was a really quick damn left turn, guy. Oh,
Yeah.
didn't mention at that moment your wife was about to have a baby, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
yeah.
was in the
That's how
middle
I know.
thir
That's how I know how long I've done this.
yeah,
Is I think about, well, how old is my
The kid's
son?
age. Yeah.
He's 8.
yep,
That's how long I've been doing this because he
Wow.
was literally born, and then the next day I got a job,
yeah. Okay, so my left turn, it
which was
was
classy, by the way, by that law firm. They
yeah,
knew that that was coming. They
yeah,
let me
Yeah.
go anyway.
Yeah.
dick
Yeah.
move. It was a dick
We'll
move.
leave it there.
There
Yeah,
there you go. So that explains who they were in a nutshell.
yeah.
Right.
Didn't even give a damn. Didn't even have the conversation, which is really sad. We'll complain about them more later. The okay, so my moment came from I like because I've always been in SBA. I was at my second bank, and the I could tell something was starting to go sideways when they weren't approving any more loans. I had great first year and was doing awesome, but I was starting to having problems just getting stuff approved. It was the worst environment for approving loans I've ever been in. The inability to really nail down what the hell a transaction was, like if it would get approved or not. You know, you can usually build a profile when you're working with your credit person to help to know what deals will work and not work. I couldn't get there, and I did okay, but it started going sideways. Well, my problem was is I was making good money again, and I was going through that wave, but I just bought a house thinking, okay, this is going to be my ride going forward to the future. Saw all the other dudes who were successful and had all their business, and that started cutting off and I started failing. I wasn't getting deals done. I had no idea what was happening. I was on my own. It was my first venture away from people I knew into an institution where I didn't know anybody. And so the whole income not lining up with budgets and all that other stuff pushed me almost to the point of bankruptcy. I luckily didn't ever have to get to that point, but I was not able to afford living where I was anymore. That was the housing crisis. So I couldn't sell the place and make any money. I would have been upside down if I tried to sell. So I had to stay in the place for 6 months and financially had to do like a modification to work through all that jazz. And I had to make the decision. Do I stay? I was in California. Do I stay in California living in a condo that costs $500,000 and try to keep surviving, living and paying taxes and everything else there? Or do I gotta move? Is it time to exit the motherland, if you will, and go find a new turf? And it got to the point where I just couldn't afford it anymore. Had started at another bank to try to see if that would ramp up. That institution didn't wanna they told me they would lend nationwide, but they weren't lending nationwide yet. And that's what all my business was on the East Coast, and, like, oddly enough, being in California, that's where I was picking up a lot of volume. And they're like, "Oh, no, we're actually just gonna do these Western states for the next little bit." I'm like, "Guys, that the whole reason I'm here right now is because you said you'd lend nationwide." So, it was a perfect storm of everything kinda going sideways and making bad career decisions, and then me having to decide, do I stick it out in California or do I move? And inevitably we moved. I went and I lived in my brother's freaking attic for like 6 months, completely reset financially and had to like figure out life again. That was a hard move because I was pulled myself, my wife, and my 3 kids to go live up in my brother's attic for 6 months and figure out I got to restart, got to go get a rent a house for a minute and decide if this career was still good. I was already questioning whether or not I leave this damn job too. I had went and interviewed at Panavision to try to go into the FP&A department with a friend of my dad's and to see if I can get into that world. Anything. I looked at insurance thinking I need screw SBA loans. This world, it's not cut out for it. It's never coming back. And so I cycled through all of that hole of depression and stress to try to figure it all out. But that move kind of changed my trajectory. That was all it was the right move. It got my family to a better place that I could live financially. It lined up better for my kids, for my wife at that time, allowed me to be closer to a couple other family members, and we were able to kind of just now with the ups and downs progress into life to where we're at today even. So and it becomes that you begin to realize that the financial side of all of this isn't the most isn't the it doesn't give me the most satisfaction. It doesn't I can close a loan, make a lot of money, but I get to the end of that and all of a sudden I'm here I am doing it again.
Mhm.
Even in the years that I've made the most money that I've ever made in this industry, it was though that moment of not having anything that I think prepped me to realize what the hell really matters out of all of this. So what is the effort that I'm putting into it? It's honestly to create experiences for my family, create experiences in life to get the most out of this so I don't feel like I missed out on just deciding to go on that damn vacation because it's gonna be worth it. You're never gonna forget it, right? Like that those kind of elements.
Mhm.
So that's what I've shifted from, and I think that was my biggest left turn that happened outside of day-to-day career, but was driven by what was happening in my career. But Steph, I wanna hear yours. This is like
Oh boy.
the
You
fun
know
story. You
what?
got a lot of left turns.
I'm gonna take a moment to share a little nugget of wisdom right now. You know what's really interesting is listening to your left turns. Actually, all the left turns in our lives and the ones that you just described led to a great outcome.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing to keep in perspective. Like when we're in a rut and feeling like, oh man, I'm on a left turn right now, you just tell yourself, but then over the horizon, something good is waiting for me. So I got to just power through, man.
Yeah.
Power through because there's good stuff that's waiting for us. So I love that. I love the ups and downs. That's what makes it so exciting, right? I
Mhm.
had one similar to me too. I've had a lot of left turns, man. Oh boy. But I had a left turn working for a bank in California, and same thing. The market crashed. They decided to not lend outside of California. So I was like, all right, I could leave Chicago and move to California. And I don't have a book of business in California only. And so, or I do something else. So I was sitting on my couch, Bridget Jonesing by myself, eating a TV dinner, watching reality TV. And that's when I was watching The Apprentice at the end of the I literally remember sitting on the couch, crying, feeling sorry for myself, thinking, I'm going to lose my job. I'm not moving to California. I was at a crossroad. And at the end of The Apprentice, it said, if you think you're the next apprentice, go to audition in New York City on Monday. And I put down my bottle of wine and I was like, "Ugh, what? I'm going to be on The Apprentice. 'Cause I felt like God's talking to me. God told me, "Go to New York City." And sure enough, I did. I got on a plane, I flew to New York City on Monday, auditioned, and made it on The Apprentice. I called my boss and said, "Hey, Brian, by the way, I quit. I can't tell you where I'm going, but you'll see me soon." And he's like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going backpacking in Uganda." He's like, "No, you're not. You're not going backpacking in Uganda. But if you need help, call me." I said, "Okay, I'll see you in 6 months." And so I quit and went on The Apprentice. So again, it was like a moment where it was a complete reset. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought this is a midlife crisis that I'm having, but I'm going for it because now I'm on this show, so I got to do it. And it turned out to be an experience of a lifetime. I got to meet amazing, crazy people and do all these amazing, crazy things on national TV. I got fired, hence why I'm back schlepping loans with you guys. Um, but it was an interesting reset. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a reset to just get out of your head, to refresh and rejuvenate and re-energize. And then I came back to the business and I came back stronger than ever. It's
Yeah.
like a break sometimes is a nice reset.
Interesting profile. I mean, yeah, that's that story's incredible. She got to second. Did you mention that?
Yeah,
She got to
I
the
was in
literally almost to
I
the
was in every episode but one because I was great for the sound bites. I mean,
end.
I told Kim Kardashian to wait in the car. I couldn't risk losing the task. I
Yeah.
told her, "Just wait downstairs, man. I don't need you on this one. I got
That's
it."
that's freaking awesome. No, that
Yeah.
that attitude is part of the reason it's been a very entertaining ride in working with
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, so
Good
I
no.
had my 5 minutes of fame when I took a break from SBA,
Yeah,
and then
good.
my 5 minutes of fame became 10 minutes when he ran for president the first time, and then he ran for president the second time, so now I'm up to 15 minutes, and now Amazon just released the episodes, which I'm dreading because 'cause I'm
Um,
like, "Oh, man, I don't
we're
I,
gonna
know."
we're gonna go see if we can pull sound bites from that and just, psychoanalyze it for fun, right?
We got
oh
to.
yeah.
Oh, man, that's freaking
Yeah, there
class.
was this one episode where one of the girls was like, "That's Stephanie. Boy, she just like will run you over like a bus." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll run you over and then I'll back up and I'll run again." And so and these poor girls were like deer in the head, like, "This woman's crazy."
I appreciate that crazy, to be entirely honest. Like I said, it does keep us entertained to say the least.
It keeps us entertained and keeps us going for sure. All right. Do you think you're good at this? And what makes you think you're good at this? So do you think you're good? And why is it that you think you're good? And I wanna say this job, let's say.
Um, why do I think I'm good? Yes. I think I'm good because the feedback that I get from borrowers and the brokers I work with, the fact that I'd say probably the majority of them will be like, hey, I'm only sending your bank stuff because you're there. That type of feedback is what tells me, oh, okay, I must be doing something okay. You know,
And what makes you so good?
what makes me so good?
Yeah, why are you good at this?
Uh,
Why would he send it just to you?
I think because I care about the experience that the customer is going through. I care about the experience that the brokers that I work with are going through. And so my goal is to make it as good of an experience as possible. And so the things that, one of the questions we had on there was like, when was the last time you thought about quitting or something like that? And I'm like, well, we joked before the call that like, yeah, literally like
This
last
morning?
week or
Yeah.
yesterday,
Morning yesterday,
Every day?
yesterday.
day
And the
before.
reason the reason is because with this job, it's like I care so much about that. And I know it's the same for the three of us. You
Yeah,
put in so much effort into caring and trying to make it a good experience. And when you can't control every aspect of that experience and make it what you believe like that ideal scenario should be, that is disheartening. And when people are permitted to continue doing the same things they're doing that don't promote that type of experience, that is even more disheartening.
yeah,
And so, I've shared this with you both, but my wife sent me this meme or something that said something along the lines of like when you let your worst employee continue to act terrible, it demotivates your best employees.
yeah,
So, that's something that's rampant in any organization and something that management is always probably trying to deal with, but yeah, that's something that kind of irks me. So yeah, that's the thing that I think probably sets me apart is just caring about the customer experience, and I think that that's probably a common theme with us.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. What about you, Shane?
Honestly, the only reason I would say, and it's not to even sound, I'm very confident in my ability to perform nearly every aspect of my job, and the reason I have that level of confidence isn't a matter of ego, is I failed at every aspect of my job at some point in my career. I can't even begin to tell you how many failures somebody needs in order to become a master, right? And so when you have seen many loans get declined and had to figure out new ways to get different transactions to work and have seen businesses fail and learned from watching that failure themselves and then just crashed and burned yourself, said the dumb thing, pushed enter too fast on a bad email. Like you have to screw up and you got to sometimes screw up hard to be able to get into a position where I think you're actually can call yourself a level of mastery. You have some level of mastery. And so I really think I'm very damn good at this specifically because I live with a constant sense of anxiety to avoid the same dumb mistakes that I've made in the past already. So when that level of anxiety just kind of wells up and kind of creates a pathway, it actually does. I can look through it all and see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, okay, I know where my success point is. I know that this way is just another wall. Like I know where the walls are in my career, and that helps me not venture down a path that is going to waste a lot of people's time, is going to waste my time, and going to inevitably fail on a transaction. So like that, I think that that makes my failures make it so that I'm successful at my job. I have screwed up enough to not want to screw up anymore and know how to avoid those pathways. So I think that that is what would make me successful in doing any transactions. And I'll tiptoe and I'll set expectations early to say, guys, don't do this, this, or this because you will fail. And that helps that helps kind of keep it raw with the customer so that they know that I'm not messing around and I know what the hell I'm talking about. So that gives you the I use the term moral authority. It really gives you moral authority when talking to customers and talking to anybody else that you work with because you've been there, you've screwed up that hard, and you've had to fix it, and it's not fun. I mean, that's where I live with all of it.
I love it. It's hard for anyone, and especially I know both of you. It is hard to say admit you're good at something because human nature wants to like we want to be humble. We don't want to appear arrogant. Our society tells us we shouldn't be arrogant. You know, you always have to credit everyone else, and you know if you take credit for yourself, you're it's arrogance is not good, right? And and that's interesting because for me, I've always been like I said, you know, I geek out about self-help and stuff. I've always believed in myself, and because of that, it came across as arrogant or turned people off because they thought, "Oh, who does she think she is?" Like,
Yeah,
that has been my whole career. But I'll tell you what, I'm the best at this job. I'm the best, and I'll tell you why, because I work my ass off, and
yeah,
I'll work my ass off for everyone that contacts me and wants my help. I'll
yeah.
do it. I'll help. I'll do everything I can. And so my mentality is I'll do everything I can to help you. And if I can't do it, no one can because I will outwork everyone. I won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Well, and I can validate that. That's the again, part of the reason that I follow Stephanie is number 1, her loyalty to both me, Brian, the team that she works with, and the customers that she's serving. So she's not just blowing smoke. She actually does work her ass off, and she's working till 12 o'clock at night, waking up in the middle of the night, not able to sleep over it. We've had these conversations. I've gotten texts to the group at that time in the night, like her with her trying to come up with an idea of how to solve a problem on a deal. Like that's the energy that exists around it. So I mean, to wrap all of this up, you've got to meet your lords. You got to meet Steph. You got to meet Brian, myself, and I'm hope it gives you some validation as to what sets us apart in the way that we're going to approach transactions. That we're going to be calling BS on the status quo and help you to know exactly where we're coming from and solutions that can actually get you there. So we've all taken different paths to get here, but we landed on the same mission. It's to get real money into the hands of real business owners without the runaround, which you will get if you go search the market to try to find capital. So if you're vibing with what we're building here, stick around. We've got a lot more to say and a lot more to do. So catch you next time. This is Lords of Lending. Hit subscribe, follow.